This teacher was quite the liar. On his very first day, students played pranks on him and a mischievous boy even snatched his briefcase. Right then, the principal walked in and asked what the child had done. But Matthew lied and claimed nothing had happened. The boy was stunned. This went against everything he'd come to expect from adults. The boy got off the hook, but instead of showing gratitude, he acted even worse. Curious about the briefcase, the kids broke into a locker and stole what was inside. 3 troublemakers huddled in the bathroom, examining papers from Matthew's bag. Having never seen sheet music before, they thought it was Morse code. Just then Matthew appeared, and the kids quickly hid the music behind their backs. Matthew rushed in to retrieve his sheets, and another teacher witnessed the scene. To spare the children from punishment, Matthew lied again, insisting nothing had happened. It was Matthew's lies that changed these troubled kids' fate. He lied because he'd already seen how cruelly this place treated children. That morning, when Matthew first arrived at the school, though calling it a school was generous, since it felt more like a prison, Laurent showed him around. The heavy iron gate looked exactly like a prison entrance. Right away, he saw a child on his knees scrubbing the floor, with prison-like bars behind him. Laurent explained this was the principal's punishment, 15 days. But Matthew's eye-opening experience was just beginning. When Laurent tried to show him the infirmary, they found the door wouldn't open. The principal appeared, and Matthew put on his brightest smile to greet him. But the principal just scowled with a superior attitude. Suddenly there was a scream from behind, followed by shattering glass. Laurent had been injured in the eye. The principal immediately knew some kid was responsible. Instead of getting Laurent medical help first, he had Matthew ring the bell to assemble all the students. The principal's solution was brutally simple. Whoever did it had 3 seconds to confess, or every student would take turns spending 6 hours in solitary. He began counting down, but nobody came forward. He handed Matthew a roster and told him to randomly pick a student for punishment. Matthew reluctantly chose someone, and unfortunately selected one of the more well-behaved kids. Rules were rules. The innocent boy had no choice but to accept punishment. The principal even threatened the students to rat out the troublemaker. But to Matthew, this was encouraging betrayal among children. The principal thought Matthew was naive and said his main job was handling the transition from the previous teacher. When Matthew asked why his predecessor was so eager to leave, the man showed scars on his arm, lasting reminders from these kids. Actually, he'd overheard the culprit bragging. The departing teacher warned Matthew about 2 students, Keller, the trap setter, and Pierre, who had an angelic face but was silent with a devil's heart. His final advice: when kids misbehave, punishment works best. Matthew searched his classroom for Keller and realized he was the same kid who'd stolen his briefcase. Matthew was about to take him to the principal when he witnessed the principal brutally beating another boy in his office. This changed Matthew's mind. Instead, he made Keller care for Laurent until he recovered. Keller had no choice but to agree. Back in class, Matthew had all the children write down their dreams. Surprisingly, everyone wrote something, except the youngest child in class. When Matthew first met him, the boy had been waiting at the school gate, hoping his father would pick him up on a sunny Saturday. His dream was probably for that Saturday to come quickly. That evening, Matthew read through the students' dreams. They wanted to be all sorts of things, but nobody wanted to be a teacher. The next day, Keller showed up at Laurent's bedside as promised. Fortunately, Laurent's eye wasn't seriously damaged. He didn't blame anyone, understanding that there were no bad children in the school. Every child just needed to be understood. Pierre was gradually changing, and just when Matthew thought he had everything under control, he realized he was completely wrong. The sheet music incident left his spirits crushed. That night back in the dorm, Matthew found a boy singing. Though the lyrics mocked the school, Matthew didn't scold him. Instead, he corrected his pitch. Afterward, he joked that nobody around the boy had mentioned his poor pitch. When another boy asked about the sheet music, it hit Matthew's sore spot. After lights out, he lay in bed unable to sleep. Life's disappointments had made him vow never to touch music again. But tonight's good voices reawakened his dream. Maybe these kids weren't completely bad after all. After the principal's afternoon class, he stopped a student, Pierre, the one with the angelic face. The principal noticed Pierre had taken notes all period, but knew this wasn't his usual behavior. Opening Pierre's desk, he found a drawing expressing dissatisfaction with the principal. Pierre was sent to solitary for this. Teachers talked about Belle, the youngest in class. His parents had died in the war, but Belle never believed it. He was convinced his father would come for him someday. The next day, just because the children were a bit loud during meals, a teacher suddenly charged at them yelling. All the teachers here believed in one thing: only harsh punishment after mistakes could lead to correction. That afternoon, Pierre's mother came to visit. To keep her from worrying, Matthew lied that Pierre was getting his teeth cleaned. She brought clean clothes for Pierre, and Matthew learned about this single mother's struggles. Pierre was withdrawn and kept getting kicked out of public schools for truancy. His mother felt helpless and just hoped he'd be well cared for here. Matthew began his healing journey. He assigned positions based on the children's voices, made Belle his assistant since he couldn't sing, and turned a tone-deaf boy into a music stand holder. He made every child valuable. The choir began taking shape. Matthew wrote a song about the school story that completely captured the children's attention. Hoping to get the principal's support for the choir, Matthew approached him, but the principal thought it was nonsense. He didn't believe such rebellious kids could change in such a short time. Yet the children were already singing freely in their classroom. The principal agreed to the choir with an amused attitude, warning that Matthew would be expelled if anything went wrong. Since Pierre got out of solitary, the principal never let him rest. The students' harmonious singing drew him over, and the wheels of fate began turning. After everyone left the classroom, Pierre quietly approached the podium, imitating the choir practice and singing. His beautiful voice filled the room. The school admitted a new student, Mondaine, who was a chronic liar with psychological issues. He was like a demon, singing filthy songs in front of the children. But Matthew didn't punish him. Instead, he assigned him to the bass section. Pierre's punishment finally ended, and Matthew wanted him to join the choir, but Pierre just made faces at him. That afternoon, while Pierre was hanging bedsheets, Mondaine appeared and spread lies that Pierre's mother had sent him here out of selfishness. Pierre fought him, and Mondaine was sent to solitary. Mondaine didn't realize his rebelliousness wasn't special at this school. To verify Mondaine's claims, Pierre secretly left school and walked through heavy rain to near the restaurant where his mother worked. Only after confirming she wasn't the person Mondaine described did he return to school with peace of mind. Matthew didn't punish Pierre, though unclear what he'd done. Matthew understood that Pierre's return was good news. That night, Matthew found Belle sitting on the stairs and learned that Mondaine was bullying him, demanding money or he couldn't sleep in his bed. Matthew was furious. He went to the cafeteria where Mondaine was getting another kid to misbehave with him. Matthew sent the other child to bed, then seriously told Mondaine he wouldn't tell the principal about today's events, and would even pay for the food Mondaine had stolen, on condition that he stay away from and stop threatening Belle. On his way back to the dorm, Matthew heard heavenly music coming from the classroom. Pierre tried to escape, but Matthew stopped him. Understanding that Pierre had reasons for everything he did, Matthew told him to start participating in choir practice tomorrow. The students increasingly listened to Matthew. He gently nurtured their hearts and sincerely guided Pierre in the right direction. When Matthew saw Pierre's mother arriving one day, he immediately changed clothes and put on cologne. He had feelings for this single mother. Matthew praised Pierre's singing talent, hoping to help her see hope in her son. He told Pierre he wanted to help improve their mother-son relationship through his efforts. He succeeded. The children inspired Matthew to start composing again. This prison gradually began looking like a real school. Bright laughter scaled the walls and dispelled the darkness. Seeing this scene made the principal thoughtful. Meanwhile, Mondaine was making so many mistakes he practically lived in solitary. The principal came downstairs to complain to Matthew about graffiti when a soccer ball hit him in the face. Angrily, he placed the ball in the center of the field, then immediately joined their game. Not just the children, but even the principal had changed. Later, Uncle Laurent returned safely. Instead of pranks, he was greeted with heartfelt, loving concern. However, one bad incident changed everything. The principal discovered money had been stolen from the school, and Mondaine had escaped. He naturally became the prime suspect. Worse yet, the principal shut down the choir. Matthew was helpless and couldn't say anything. Soon after, police brought Mondaine back, but no matter how the principal punished him, he wouldn't confess. Eventually Mondaine was sent away, though he hadn't actually stolen the money. That day Pierre discovered Matthew and his mother were getting close. Soon Matthew experienced Pierre's vindictiveness firsthand. When his mother learned what her son had done, she turned and left the school in disappointment. Matthew escorted her out, hoping to send Pierre to music conservatory for systematic training. He would arrange everything for Pierre. Like most parents, Pierre's mother preferred he have a stable job. But one thing Matthew said changed her mind: Pierre would become who he was destined to be. She got on the return bus, while Matthew deliberately canceled Pierre's solo. This was his punishment for Pierre.